So even as technology is helping families organize, making it easier to communicate, and actually bringing many families together, we're also seeing technology lead to some family segmentation. With so many specialized devices targeted at particular demographics and carrying so many discrete entertainment and communication tools, it's increasingly easy for a family to spend time at home together, but in personalized bubbles of technology, with everyone engaged in their own personal media stream. The sense that consumers are developing their own personal tech ecosystems is actually bolstered by the fact that we have recent research which shows the demographics for particular devices and services are actually beginning to segment rather clearly by age and gender. So, for instance, you have Nielsen data that indicates that owners of Apple's iPad tend to be below 35 and male, whereas e-reader owners show a tendency to be older and are less likely to be male. The data on U.S. usage of mobile texting shows user profiles that skew significantly younger than 25, whereas heavy voice usage indicates a much higher, or rather much older, age group. Very interestingly, with regards to families, you can see that moms are actually 50% more likely than the average smartphone user to use their phones for health and wellness applications, like researching the health conditions and tracking family health. They have also been shown to be almost 300% more likely to text rather than call their friends compared to the average adult. So we're really seeing a lot of permeation here. And actually, with all this tech use, we're seeing some signs that there may be such a thing as too much tech for your own good, both where individuals and families are concerned. Kind of preoccupied by their online lives, family members these days are increasingly likely to be alone together at home, but in their own rooms and isolated by the very tech devices that are helping them communicate. We're seeing tech use actually supplanting time that families normally spend together. One study found that the number of Americans who say internet use has reduced their time with family members has almost tripled from 11 to 28% in just 2 years. This is happening in many ways. Even in the bedroom, a recent Nielsen survey found that 61% of e-reader users are using them in bed, and actually the same is true of 57% of tablet owners and 51% of smartphone owners. It's also happening on vacation. A 2011 Harris poll found 71% of Americans saying it was appropriate for their coworkers to contact them while they're on vacation. Looking specifically at families, we actually see some 15% of married Americans saying that the use of digital devices is leading them to see less of their spouse, and actually 10% of parents report that tech use was causing them to spend less time with their young children. And another sort of interesting development, we're seeing tech use sort of change the way kids perceive the world, with actually young children starting to see digital reality as equal to the real world. Right now we're seeing the first generations to grow up with an expectation of continuous connection and this immersion in digital culture, and they don't necessarily think that simulated realities, whether social networks or virtual worlds, are second best. Moreover, their online friendships via sites like Facebook may actually be redefining how they think of relationships, and not always for the better. Taken to extremes, there are some concerns that the kinds of relationships fostered by social networking in virtual worlds could lead people to see others as objects that are accessed at one's convenience versus real friends. So building on this, we actually do have evidence that some people are feeling like we have too much tech in our family lives. And it's possible they may be right. The rise of digital information and communication technologies has created a massive and unprecedented explosion in the amount of information to which people are exposed. It's been estimated that the average American took in fully 3 times as much information on a daily basis in 2008 as it did in 1960. This change in access to and consumption of information has driven interest among many consumers to find ways to disconnect from the fire hose of information, even if only temporarily, and engage in some form of what we're calling digital detox. This, along with a variety of factors, from concern about personal wellness to emerging clinical evidence regarding the negative effects of technology overuse on brain function, are driving an interest in digital detox. There are some concerns, as we've already mentioned, that technology use is stealing family time. It's actually quite common for family members to report being ignored by others who are online. Fully 49% of women and 40% of men said they were sometimes or often ignored by online household members. Perhaps more worrisomely, we're seeing signs that tech overuse could be linked to actually hurting kids. A 2010 study by the Kaiser Family Foundation found that fully half of kids U.S. kids aged 8 to 18 are immersed in digital media either most or some of the time when they're doing homework, and that this split focus was having a deleterious effect on learning and retention. These sorts of concerns, along with general feelings that tech-free family time might actually be richer family time, is leading to a small but vocal digital detox crowd. There are several U.S. movements, some run by NGOs, others run by local governments, to basically have technology-free days when people are essentially encouraged to take a break from the incessant ringings of phones, text messages, and social network updates and just sort of connect with their families and their friends. So briefly, to wrap this up, I just want to offer a few implications here. The first is that these sort of tech-centric family trends are probably only going to intensify in the future, particularly as millennials, as we've been talking about, the first digital native generation, begin to start families. And these sort of digital natives bring this sort of digital culture to their family lives, especially given that we're in an era where families are often spread far and wide due to things such as employment, economic drivers, and military service. Technology will be seen by many mainstream families as a key driver of connectivity. We're also going to see, as technology use increases and becomes prevalent throughout all segments of U.S. families, we're going to see more segmentation and more changes in common concepts of what is family time. How do they communicate? How do they relax? Is it going to be all together? It might still be in the same room, but you might have it to be the case where most people are on their own devices and maybe not necessarily interacting as we think is common. Last but not least, there are some concerns about tech overuse, and those will probably remain important for a small and vocal segment of the U.S. population. But for all the worries about too much tech and associated risks, it's still very important to note that technology is and will continue to be a net positive for U.S. families. It's freeing up time for parents, it's making kids safer, enabling new forms of cross-generational communication, and generally making life easier for families. The trick lies, as with everything, in finding a good balance.